Welcome everyone to the 2020 Preschool Mindfulness Summit. I'm really excited to introduce you today to Lani G. I'll let her say her last name because it's a long one, and I don't want to garble that up. But she is coming to us from A to Z Mindfulness with Lani, and she has done so many things in this area. She's been practicing since she was 8 years old. She's been teaching for many years, teaching yoga and mindfulness through online programs, face-to-face programs, and she is the creator of the A to Z Mindfulness program, which she's going to tell us about, which works for young children all the way through to, I think you mentioned 97-year-olds. So that's great to have those kind of activities that work for so many different age ranges. And she has a book called Mindful Students, Social and Emotional Learning in the Classroom and Beyond, which we'll have the links to. And she's very kindly given some mindfulness videos as resources that you can see some of the different techniques that she's using. So welcome, and thank you so much for coming on the summit.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Helen. It's really nice to be here with you. The last name pronunciation is Gerszonovicz, so it's Lani Gerszonovicz, but Lani is fine.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. I'm really looking forward to hearing about the program, but let's start off with why you think it's so important to teach children mindfulness in school.
Well, our school system is really equipped to teach children, everything. And with the internet and all of the time spent on the internet, kids have access to all the information. What they're finding is children are more and more stressed and having anxiety, having sleep issues, and many other mental health challenges. So it's so important to teach them these life skills because they work whether you're 3 or, like you said, 97. That was my oldest student, was 93 actually. But so it doesn't matter your age. If you have tools to start to control your mind instead of letting your mind control you, you become empowered. And there's a lot of scientific research where people live happier lives. So just from practicing a little bit of mindfulness, you have the power to live a happier life, a more connected life. So it's really empowering, and I think it's a huge gift to teach kids so young because they go through their life with these skills, and hopefully it'll help to navigate some of the more challenging times for them.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm really passionate about teaching young children these skills, and as you said, why not start when they're very young and give them those tools that they'll have for life. So tell us a little bit about how, maybe some suggestions or ideas on how we can engage very young children in mindfulness practices.
Well, they start out very mindful because if you've ever watched a child engage in pretend play, they can do it for hours, maybe. They can get very engaged in what they're doing, and they may not even hear mom or dad calling them for dinner or to do the next activity because they are completely mindful with what they're doing. So what we're really working is to build those skills and help them to transition so they can be mindful when we'd like them to be mindful. So it's a great way to connect with kids on that is through movement. The younger they are, starting at like 2.5 and 3, they just want to move their bodies. And getting them connected in their bodies is a really powerful tool because I teach the children, we always have our breath with us. We always have our heartbeat with us, right? We always have our bodies with us. But when you pay attention to it, something magical happens, right? And they get that concept from a very young age. So we giving some kind of body challenges Kids love to balance. They love, believe it or not, if you're familiar with the sun salutation in yoga. And the more challenging I make it, if I give some modifications with one-handed, and I'm like, wow, you're so strong. Like, adults can't even do this half of the time. And look at you guys. And they feel really proud of themselves. And that connection of linking the breath with their body is maybe a first-time experience for a lot of young kids. They haven't really thought about that mind-body breath connection. So when they do, they really enjoy it. So yoga, in my book, it's called Mindful Movement. So the letter M, it's just like linking your motion with your breath. And it's super playful and empowering, and kids of all ages really enjoy it. So I love to start with some kind of mindful movement for the kids. And their senses that we had talked about, your ears are with you all the time. That's a really nice place to have them focus, because they can do it with their eyes open or their eyes closed, but noticing the sounds around you and inside of you. I'm like, we're always breathing. Our heart is always pumping. Can you notice that? It's going on right now. And inevitably, a classroom of 20 kids, you ask them to stop and notice that. And then you say, okay, who noticed it? Almost everyone's hand goes up. How did it make you feel? Do you feel good? Almost everyone's hand goes up. So it's not very complicated. They just need the tools to do it. So body and senses are very powerful tools to help young children as well. Like I said, children of all ages, be very mindful.
Yeah, I love that, and yeah, so true. I think movement is a great tool as well. So you said M for movement, and you're talking about A to well, I'm Canadian, so A to Z, A to Z in the States, I guess. So tell us, how did you come up with that concept, and what is it, like a technique for each letter?
It is. There's a technique for each letter of the alphabet. There's 26 mindfulness techniques. The reason I came up with it, they're my favorite practices. I've been practicing, since, like you said, since I was 8. I was very fortunate to be exposed to yoga teachers and breath teachers and energy workers. So it's kind of my culmination of what I love and what I love teaching. So I've also been teaching for 17 years, and it's what really connects with my students. So it came to me a few years ago to put it in A through C context, because what better way to get kids learning and to get teachers to have buy-in? And if you go with an A through Z program and you're committed to doing it, and you learn one new technique each week, and you can practice multiple times a day. It takes you over the course of almost an entire school year. So 26 weeks, when you give breaks and all of that, it takes you over the course of a school year. We all know that the repetition and building the routine is where the power really comes in. Anybody could pick up the book and do any of the 26 techniques and feel wonderful. It's easy. You're mindful, you're playful, you're engaged, and you feel good. The magic happens, and we have those changes in our brain with the consistent practice. So the A through Z is a playful way to draw the students and the teachers in to practice daily. And the kids have total buy-in. They're like, what's next? Well, we're going to have to wait. Let's explore A for a few more days. We're going to look at awareness, and then we'll get to B next week. And it really is a playful, engaging way to, like I said, for students and teachers to have complete buy-in. And I think having a start and a finish makes it really enjoyable. I think people like that, whether you're working in a class situation or privately, or even as a parent or a mental health provider, having a start to finish, it sets the framework for it.
Yeah, I love that. I think it sounds like a really fun way and a memorable way for students to learn these tools. So give us a few. You've told us movement. So tell us a few of the other letters, or maybe some practical examples from the curriculum.
So I'll just start with A, because awareness is something we do in every practice. So like we had talked about, awareness of your body. Notice how you feel. You know, kids oftentimes have sensory issues. So noticing, just pay attention to the way your clothes feel on your skin, or the way that, you know, my son was very sensory overstimulated. He was a premature baby, and having the labels on his clothing was a source of focus for him. So I would say, let's just pay attention to that. You know, we can cut it out if it's bothering you, but yes, there's a label there and you can feel it when you think about it, right? So just noticing what's happening, the way your hair feels on your head, you know, it's something that we don't normally think about. So giving kids awareness, even it's kind of amazing when you notice the awareness of visual. So if you know, we're looking around, and 90% of what the brain perceives is your visual stimulus. So we're bombarded with visual stimulus all the time. But yet, because we're bombarded with the visual stimulus, there's often things that you're missing. So if you commit to, I'm going to notice 5 things that I see that maybe are in this classroom every day, but I haven't noticed. You know, and you might start noticing different colors or textures, or maybe there's something in the corner that you never noticed. And when you just focus on the visual awareness, you start to see things differently, right? And even visual awareness, if you're facing one direction, looking at one person, then turn and you face another person. You have a completely different awareness. So teaching them that you can be aware visually, like we're seeing all the time, but to be aware of what you're seeing is a different experience. And then we can go through all of the senses, what you're feeling, you know, what you're hearing. And I think it gives a safe space for the kids. I suggest they close their eyes because of that visual stimulus. There's so much. And I say, when our eyes are open, we see our world. When our eyes are closed, we can hear and feel our world more. So if you're comfortable, try closing your eyes. If it's hard for you because you're so excited and you want to see what's going on, take your hands and cover your eyes, right? This helps us so we can hear more and feel more and really notice what's happening inside of us. And then I like to teach the kids that sometimes you might look at somebody and think you know what they're feeling, but the way that somebody looks and the way that what's happening inside of them don't always match. So I like to invite them to get to know themselves, right? Awareness is knowing what's happening for you. Like as adults, we want to take care of you. We do our best. I might look at you and say, ooh, you're having a meltdown. You need a snack, right? It's cold outside. You need a jacket, right? And we go through, oh, you're crabby. You must need to go to sleep now. Oh, you seem stressed. We need to do this. And so I start to shift the kids' perception so that they can start to become aware of what they're feeling. You know, if you're hungry, and they think this is funny, I'm a hangry person. But I didn't know that for years, right? I was like, would get angry or be very short-tempered and very reactive. And if I took a little snack, I would feel more settled. So I know this about myself now. I walk around with snacks. I eat every few hours. This is something that keeps me running at my optimum performance. And I've learned it about myself. So I invite the kids to learn about themselves. Like, pay attention. If your stomach's grumbling, are you hungry? Right? Because maybe you can start to ask adults, like, hey, I think I'm hungry. Can I have a snack? And more teachers are really wanting students to be aware and be able to self-advocate for themselves. You know, as adults, like I said, we have a framework and we know what works for the majority, but we're each unique individuals. So finding, having that partnership where the kids are looking in and having awareness and able to communicate about it. And part of the process in my book, we have a day for reflection. So if you're introducing awareness and you're going through for the entire week, at the end of the week, there's a worksheet. And in the younger ages at preschool, you would talk about the worksheet as a teacher, as an educator. You wouldn't have the kids fill it out, obviously, because several of them aren't writing yet. But you talk about it. Like, what did you notice when you were practicing awareness? What did you notice about your body? What did you notice about your breath? What did you notice about how you felt or what you were thinking? And when do you think is a good time to practice? So they go, oh, I like awareness. It makes my body feel calm. It makes my breath steady, and I feel good. I'd like to practice it when I wake up. So it starts to frame it in a way where they can really relate to it and they can see using it in their lives as a tool. Because I say, who doesn't want to feel good? If you just did this and it made you feel good, like we're not often aware of the quiet. So you get quiet and you listen to your breath and we feel good. It's a very peaceful place that you've accessed that's inside of yourself so you can do it. And when do you think you want to practice it? So starting to help them to develop the thought process of when is a good time? How does it make me feel? And that's just with awareness. So we put awareness into every practice because some of them are more active, some are more sensory, more body, more breath. But the awareness is, I think, the magic sauce. When you take that peaceful moment, there's a shift. Things happen. When you become that observer, you learn about yourself, and it's empowering.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you're right. Awareness is so important in early childhood. As you said, like knowing when you're hungry or knowing when you maybe have to go to the washroom, when you're starting to feel agitated and when you can feel peaceful, and learning what things can help you to get to those feelings that you want to have or to manage or accept or notice all the different things happening in our bodies. So I think that's everything that you said sounds really useful for a preschool classroom. And as you mentioned before, pretty much everyone can benefit from these tools. So tell us maybe one more example of something from the book.
Well, so once students have awareness, it's really fun to explore a lot of different things. But for the preschoolers, I like them to start to think about having the ability to control their thoughts. And this is a hard one for them. As you get older, you actually can put a little bit more distance between your thoughts. In preschool age, they think their thoughts are their world, it's their reality. So I like to point out and have them start learning, which is for cloud meditation. So when you can start to separate yourself from your thoughts, and thoughts are something that I'm having. They're something that are ongoing, whether I'm awake or sleeping, but it is something that I have control over. And I say, they think this is really funny. Your thoughts aren't always true. And they look at me like they've never thought about this. Your thoughts, sometimes they lie to you. Like, who's ever had a thought that they don't like me? They don't want to play with me. I can't do this. Well, that might be true in a blink of a moment, or it might not be true. It might be something that you're feeling that is not true, or it might be something that shifts with a little bit of time and patience and education. So if you say, they don't want to play with me, maybe in that moment it felt that way, but maybe 1 minute later they're going to want to play with you, or maybe it was the activity you were doing. So I start to teach them that if they can notice their thoughts and give themselves some space from their thoughts, it's really freeing. So C is cloud meditation, and we practice visualizing a cloud above the head, picking one thing that you're thinking about. At the preschool level, I told you they're pretty mindful. So if I'm talking, they're like, well, I'm thinking about you, you're talking, right? They haven't really let their minds wander into a million other things. I said, great, put me in your cloud. Go ahead and let me go up in your cloud, and we use a mindful breath and we blow the cloud away. So your eyes are closed. Go ahead. We can all close our eyes. We take a mindful body, which is, I like everybody on the same language. So the mindful body is being aware of your body. And when you sit up tall and make space for your heart and lungs to do their job, you feel better. So just taking a mindful body, sitting upright, making space, being relaxed yet conscious and aware of your body, and then take a mindful breath. The mindful breath goes in through your nose, and you blow out slowly through your mouth. I like to tell the children like they're blowing on hot chocolate. You don't want to spill it. You just want to cool it off. And once we have our mindful body and our mindful breath, it sets the space and we're ready to do our mindful activity. And I'll invite the students to visualize a white fluffy cloud above their head. And in that white fluffy cloud, pick out something you're thinking or feeling right now and let it go up into that white fluffy cloud. So you're giving yourself a little bit of space. You're picking out one thought or feeling. Maybe you're picking out a few thoughts or feelings. You take your mindful breath in through your nose. Blow slowly through the mouth. And the breath is like the wind, and it can blow that cloud with that thought or feeling away, giving you some distance and giving you some space. So that's the power of cloud meditation. And then students will say to me, well, what if the thought comes back? I said, do it again. These things are hard. They take practice, right? Like it doesn't, if you wanted to walk, like a few years ago when they're in preschool, you were crawling. To walk, it took a lot of practice, right? Now you guys are getting ready to read and learn your letters. That's going to take a lot of practice. So we have to practice making our minds strong. And this is one way we can do it. Notice what you're thinking about. You have the power to let a thought go, to give yourself some space from it. And the students love, I give them this example of a little girl. She was in first grade, and I say it's a true story. And she looked really sad. I was sitting, teaching mindfulness in the classroom, and her head was down, her arms were crossed, her eyes were glassy, and her body language definitely looked like she was sad. But we talked about sometimes that doesn't always match. So sure enough, she raises her hand and she said, I'm feeling really sad. When we got to C for cloud meditation, I said, let's notice what we're feeling. I'm feeling sad. And I said, ooh, I'm glad that you were able to raise your hand and tell me that, because I kind of thought you looked sad, but sometimes it doesn't match. What's going on? She said, when I went outside for recess, I wanted to play and go down the slide with my friends, and they didn't want to play. So they walked away, and they didn't play with me, and I was really sad. My feelings were hurt. And I validated her, said, I would be really sad too. When I want to play with my friends and they don't want to hang out, it makes me sad, right? But I usually have a rule that I give it 1 minute. That's as long as I want someone else's action to have power over me. So this happened 15 minutes ago. You were at lunch, recess. Now we're inside practicing mindfulness. Do you still want to be sad now? Because sometimes we do. Sometimes something makes us sad and we want to hold on to it. But it's really empowering to know what you're feeling and know if you want to keep feeling that way. So I asked her, do you want to be sad now? And she said, no. So let's try the cloud meditation. And we put her sadness that up in the cloud. She blew it away. We practiced 3 times. And then I said, how do you feel? And she said, I feel much better. So it's so powerful to know at that early age you have control of your thoughts. You can choose to be sad or angry or frustrated, and sometimes we are. When you take a mindful moment, it doesn't necessarily make them go away, but they settle and they lose some of their power. I'm going to hold up this snow globe. I don't know if you can see it.
Okay, yeah, I love snow
So
globes.
this is the cover of my book, and the kids love to talk. I got permission from the artist to use it, and the kids love to talk about what they see. And oftentimes they think that the adult must be happier because their mind is full. They're thinking about stuff.
Right.
Right? So I tell them science and research will tell us that the adult actually is usually more stressed or has more anxiety because they're thinking about everything that's happening in the future or the past or what needs to get done. The child here, I say, what do you see them thinking about? Right? They're thinking about the flowers and the sun. Well, what's really going on in that picture? Well, they're taking a walk and there's flowers and sun. And I said, well, she's being mindful because she's paying attention to what's happening in the moment. Science will tell us that she feels happier. She's enjoying that moment more. She's feeling the connection to nature. And it's so powerful. So then I shake up the snow globe. I say, your mind is like the snow globe. Your thoughts and feelings are like the snow. And sometimes it's like a big blizzard. And you can't even see clearly because you're having so many thoughts and feelings. When you let them settle, or you put them in a cloud and let them move a little bit away, give yourself some space, our thoughts and feelings are still there, but they've lost their power. So you can release sadness and frustration and anger when you're ready. And if you're not ready, you can hold on to it. But you're in control of your feelings.
Yeah, what a gift, I think, to give. We see so many adults struggling with that. So just imagine children learning that in schools when they're so young. I think it's such a gift that will help them. I've heard so many adults say, wow, like I never thought about that. I don't have to believe my thoughts and things because like people just aren't taught it and maybe just come across it when they're adults and they really think about it. So I love that technique and I love how playful it is and all the different parts that you talked about to make that really child friendly for young children. So tell us a little bit about how, I think you mentioned, starting with the awareness, but do you have any other tips or techniques when teachers maybe are taking their first step into mindfulness with their classroom? What would be the best way to introduce it to young children, or what are some kind of quick daily things that teachers might do to encourage, as you said earlier in the interview, that consistency of those kind of repeated actions that we might do every day in the classroom?
So you kind of answered the question with the consistency piece. I would invite them to commit to it. If you are going to be consistent, yes, there's going to be challenges. Some days will be great, some days will be harder. To change behavior, there's research about how long it takes. Smaller behaviors can change quicker. More challenging, persistent behaviors might take more time. But on the average, 30 days to change a behavior. So if you do this once or scattered here and there, they're acting so inappropriate right now. They're so wound up. We're going to take a mindful moment. That might be a struggle. It might work. It could be a challenge, right? To bring somebody from up here to quiet and peace and being in control of your emotions and regulating them. It can be hard when you're wound up. I've had a child say, I feel like a tsunami. When you feel like a tsunami, it might be hard to come into a peaceful place. When you're consistent and you're practicing daily, you have the tools so that you don't even really get to a tsunami half of the time. You're able to stop it at a little storm. You're able to stop it before the blizzard. Because you're aware of what's happening. You're feeling, maybe your heart racing or butterflies in your stomach, or maybe you're feeling heat in your cheeks or your head, So when the kids start having an awareness of what they're feeling, it gives them more control over it. But the daily practice, the consistency, is when you're going to get those positive changes in the brain so that they don't escalate to that tsunami place. So I would say carve out a time as a teacher, carve out a time that works for you. And it could be a challenging time. Like when they come in from recess, we have a really hard time settling in. Okay, let's try to offer mindfulness there. Or you might want to do it in the beginning of the day. We like to set our day, or at the end of the day, just to transition so they can have a vision of what's going to happen after school. You know, sometimes people have a lot of stress around transitions. So as a teacher, you can decide the time. I would say try to keep it consistent, same time every day. Commit to a certain length of time, 2 to 5 minutes every day. And you can do it at least once, but up to like 3 times a day, so that there's a routine framing your day. So commit to that. Use the same language. Start each practice with a mindful body and a mindful breath. Get everybody on that page. I love to use, I'll show you here, I have my Tibetan singing bowl I ordered on Amazon. There's chimes that you can order that are $10. There's free apps. But the kids love it, and it takes away the struggle when you just say, okay, when I play my singing bowl, you're going to take a mindful body and a mindful breath. So you might be struggling with it until it becomes a routine, a habit. But when you say, when you hear this bell, take your mindful body, take your mindful breath, and that totally shifts the space. So they're ready for what's next. So I love having something like this. The younger they are, they want to touch it. Can we play it? And they love games around it. So at first, we'll start very simple. When you hear this, okay, close your eyes. When you hear the sound of the bell, open your eyes, right? Then you start to develop more awareness. The sound is still going. It goes a lot longer than you'd think. So let's try a game where you close your eyes and you leave your eyes closed till there's no more sound. For you, I might hear it different than you do. We all see things different. We all hear things different. This is an opportunity to learn about yourself. So when you don't hear sound anymore, open your eyes. And believe it or not, the preschoolers love this game. And they love having the quiet moment and listening and just being with what's happening in the moment. And they're so grateful for the gift. So I would recommend getting some kind of timer or app, consistent time of the day, using familiar repetitive language, mindful body, mindful breath, and committing to doing it. Another example I want to share with you, I led a teacher training. And during the first teacher training, one of the teachers, she was a second grade teacher, she was crying. She said, this isn't going to work. I have 4 first graders, boys, who came up from first grade, and they should have broken them up and they didn't. And they're very, very active together, and they have a hard time listening and settling, and it's very stressful. And I said, are you committed to trying this and seeing how it goes? And she said, I am. We followed up 7 weeks later with a follow-up teacher training. She had implemented it with 1 technique a week, a few minutes a day. She said A was awareness, B was bee buzzing breath, C is the cloud meditation, D is directing your thoughts to something positive and good that you feel amazing when you're in the zone, what makes you happy. Know yourself, right? You can go there in your mind, or maybe you can ask your mom, hey, I love dancing. Whatever it is, you should know yourself so you can better take care of yourself. So A through D, the first 4 weeks, which we know under 30 days, it's hard to form a habit. She said it was very stressful. She was pulling teeth. There was good days and bad days, and she could remember that I said, commit to doing this. You will experience changes. They will experience changes. Stick with it. There will be challenges, but see where you go with it. She was committed. By the time we did our follow-up training, it was after G, so they had gotten to gratitude 7 weeks later. And she couldn't believe the transformation in her classroom. one of her colleagues in first grade wanted to, she was now committed to the buy-in. I'm going to do it daily because she's having such success. I want it. And they came up with community support, which I think once you have the awareness on mindfulness, the intention, the vision, it creates a beautiful school culture, a classroom culture, a whole community culture. So she said, it's really working in my classroom. We can videotape my kids doing it. And she used the video in the first grade classroom, and the younger students loved seeing the older students. And they really thought it was so amazing. On this week, they were on the letter H, which is happy, healthy, the power of telling, repeating a phrase out loud, silently, repeating what you want to attract, to create that in your life. So they were doing happy, healthy. They were taking their moment of awareness. She said the magic happened in that moment of awareness when they were quiet and still, and the first graders were inspired. Like, let's try that. So they've supported each other to have this success, which I think is brilliant. This group of teachers also supported each other in a mindfulness practice for themselves after school. So they meet and they practice breathing or meditation because they want to keep it authentic. So that would probably be my third recommendation in the implementation, is have your own personal practice. It actually should be number one. Kids see right through it. If you're not, if you don't have an experience, how could you teach it? When you have an experience, I tell people all the time, my students are so relieved to know that my mind feels like this blizzard often, right? And I sit down to meditate and I try to be mindful and I'm thinking about a million other things. But at some point, I'm able to let my thoughts and feelings settle and be way more present and have way more joy and connection. So it takes time. It takes your own personal experience, the commitment to it, and then putting it in the kids' terms. Like, I'll let them kind of guide me, you know. So I definitely, as teachers, we're skilled at doing this. So if a class is, feeling very, very energetic, you might say, let's put a little mindful movement in before we try to sit and be in awareness. Some of the teachers, I said the next edition of my book is going to be brilliant because they say, I tried this languaging and the kids loved it. Well, you know your students. So as a new teacher, if you have no experience in mindfulness, I would say start with a personal practice, whether it's my book or a video. I have YouTube videos online. There's a million resources online. There's free ones, there's paid ones. Start with a personal practice, get an experience that you can share, build on it, introduce at the same time so it becomes a routine, and be open to finding your own voice. So if your teacher or my scripted guide of A through Z don't feel 100% authentic to you, make it your own. It's okay to change a word. It's okay if you want their eyes open. Or one of my teachers said for gratitude, they wanted to make a classroom, a community project out of it. So they made a community book of gratitude. I love the creativity, right? Like, if you're feeling inspired, as you practice yourself, you will open up to more of your creativity. That's another scientific fact. The more mindful you are, the better your creative part of your brain works. So if you're feeling creative and inspired and want to take it in another direction and make snow globes and books, go with it. It's brilliant, and it's a really important part of our curriculum and a huge gift for the teachers and the students.
Yeah, thank you, Lani. Those are all amazing, great tips, to get started in the school. And I think our viewers will find those really, really helpful, especially people that are starting out, but even people that are already have a practice. There's so many different ideas in there that you shared. Just before we finish today, is there anything else that you want to share about the A to Z curriculum, or just about mindfulness in general with our viewers?
Well, gratitude is a great place to start. I'm super thankful for our time together and being here and being able to share mindfulness with so many people and be able to watch the transformation in teachers and parents and students. It's been really, really just such a gift. So I'm extremely grateful to have this gift to share, and I'm extremely grateful for your time and anyone listening. And you can always contact me through my website, through an email if you have a question. It's a gift for me to share this with others. So if you have questions or challenges, let's support each other. Let's start community and be there. And it just takes one mindful person to spread it, and all of a sudden you have a mindful community, and you have, it really shifts the way we treat ourselves, the way we treat each other, being more forgiving with ourselves and with others. So it's important work. And I'm very grateful to share it, and I'm very grateful to support you in any way that I can.
Great. Thank you so much, Lani, for sharing all those ideas. I know it's going to help many, many people, all the practical things that you talked about, but also some of the more philosophical ideas that you shared as well. I just want to remind everyone that Lani's provided some links to videos, which you mentioned in her talk, which will help you, I think, see some of the practical ideas being played out. So we'll have a link to that, and also to her book if you want to check that out. And as she kindly said, we'll have her her Facebook and other social media if you want to get in contact with her and learn more, or visit her website, which has lots of good things on it as well. But thank you once again for taking the time out to share all those ideas with us and be part of this summit. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Helen.
Thanks.